What more could be said about the third Lord of the Rings film, The Return of the King? It is one of the greatest cinematic achievements of the art form thus far. It exhausted theaters with audiences from around the world, and it is nearly unmatched in its critical recognition as it stands next to Titanic and Ben-Hur for the most Academy Awards won for a single film. It is the conclusion to one of the most beloved film trilogies ever crafted, and it is one that is rooted in directorial mastery. Thus, I have more to say about it. I have more to say from the heart, and I have personal examination that is yet to be gleaned from this favorite film of mine. In this video, I want to present to you how The Return of the King succeeds as a conclusion. I want to showcase what it is that makes it such a satisfying ending to its trilogy, and I want to examine how this narrative effectively leads us to its eventual closure. First, let's talk about the scale of this film. The mistake could not be made. This film is larger and grander than anything that ever preceded it. Never before had a film so soulfully captured character while at the same time showcased world-ending events. And to this day, this crucial combination remains a rarity. That being said, the scale of this film was necessary for it to truly succeed as a conclusion. Like most all finales, the stakes need to be raised in order for the drama to remain heightened. The conflicts need to be bigger, and the consequences more dire. However, for The Return of the King, this could not be more true, as bigger conflicts and dire consequences were what was promised to us from the very beginning. I noted this in my last video discussing The Two Towers. If you haven't watched it, you should go check it out. In that video, I explained that though that film satisfies, it ultimately presents a harder road ahead. And even in my video on The Fellowship of the Ring, again, if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. This promise for greater obstacles was inherent in the Fellowship's previous testings and resolutions. So now, in The Return of the King, one of the greatest things that the narrative does to bring us closure to the story is that it delivers on its promises. It doesn't subvert our expectations, but it doesn't bore either. Instead, The Return of the King respects what the films before had been preparing us for all along. On the surface, this means the biggest battles of the trilogy. Beneath the surface, this means that an emotional toll is presented to the audience in greater frequency and greater intensity. The Return of the King has the greatest amount of consistent drama more than either of the two films before it, contrasting from trilogies like Star Wars, which clearly packs much of its emotional punch in its second film, The Empire Strikes Back. In that film, the characters are at their lowest before the third film even begins. In contrast, by the end of The Two Towers, the characters are celebrating their successes. So The Return of the King delivers on its promises on multiple fronts, and it consolidates its drama in the finale to pack the greatest emotional punch that it can in one fell swoop. All this to say, what The Return of the King does, in addition to delivering on its promises, is it brings its characters to the brink like never before. It sees them at their most battered and torn. It showcases their lowest of the low, and it threatens their lives in believable ways. First-time viewers can actually question whether Frodo or Sam are going to make it to the end. They look at the ring's increasing hold over Frodo and they question how Frodo is going to save himself. They see Sam carrying Frodo up Mount Doom and they cling for the hope that this will not all be in vain. The stakes are really real in The Return of the King, and this is recognizable in the ways in which our characters clearly stand in the jaws of death. From Éowyn staring down the Witch King, to the Fellowship charging into their presumed final battle, to Frodo's failure to let go of the ring, we feel that these characters stand at the edge of all that they have fought for, and we can truly question whether or not any of them are going to make it back home. As a result, the reward that follows becomes exponentially more satisfying. For one could take a breath after holding it for so long, and recognize that though these characters only barely made it out, their efforts to hold true to each other resulted in a united front that ultimately allowed them to succeed. Furthermore, because these characters were forced into such dire straits, and because of the drama that exceeded all that came before it, the film, in the end, ultimately suffers from a bad case of melancholia that is just strangely so good. And this is really how The Return of the King brings us to a conclusion that feels so undeniably rewarding and impactful. It's not something that one could just wash their hands of and walk away from. It's not a conclusion that necessarily leaves you smiling, even though it is a conclusion that ultimately rewards its participants. Instead, The Return of the King brings us home by invading our hearts. It inspires reflection in us and conversation with our fellow viewers, as it incepts a melancholy seed in our minds. There's no denying it. Though the dawn has broke and the battle's been won, The Return of the King is a sad movie, for reasons that are difficult to process and explain. Maybe it's due in part to the honor bestowed upon the hobbits that was so well deserved, and the fact that these small faces had to bear the responsibility of the world on their shoulders. Maybe it's due in part to the loss that Frodo experiences with his victory. He won back the Shire, but he lost himself in the process. Maybe it's due to the journey that left so many scars, and maybe it's due to the fellowship that finally ends. Whatever your reason is, The Return of the King presents for us a resolution that doesn't really resolve everything in a nicely wrapped package. Instead, it brings us home to a place where reflection and remembrance is natural, needed even, as it forces us to sit in a sense of melancholy over and reverence for the story that we've just been told. I can't say that I know all of the small intentions of the writers, the director, or Tolkien himself that went into or inspired this work to make it such a worthy piece of cinema. However, what I can say is this. In The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King, righteousness and commitment are virtues that are rewarded. Courage and strength is treasured, and brief adventures make way for unprecedented journeys that have a lasting emotional impact. These films are a monument to the ways in which the singular vision of a storyteller can be so successfully translated into a boundless art form that meets people right where they're at and causes them to deal with the realities of life in ways that they could understand. They allow us to see what it looks like to be a hero with our eyes, and they allow us to encounter whatever rewards or losses that heroism produces with our hearts. These films truly do convey the weight of cinema as something that has the power to take individuals on a journey like no other medium can, as something that washes over us like a tidal wave, immerses us in a new world, and leads us down a road that goes ever on and on. I want to invite you all to like this video, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video with your friends on social media and in person, because it really does help this channel and this video to get in front of as many eyes and ears as possible. So if you take the moment to do those things that you're consistently asked to do here on YouTube. It really does help this video, and it makes the effort of making this video so much more worth it because it helps more people to see it. In addition to that, I also want to ask you all, what is your favorite moment from the Lord of the Rings film? It could be any one of the 3 films, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, or The Return of the King. What is the best moment that hits you in the feels the most, that helps you to feel the most empowered? Whatever it is, I'd love to hear from you about what is the one scene to rule them all. Comment below and start a conversation about that. And I also want to invite you all to become patrons for Weight of Cinema. This is an incredible opportunity for you all to be engaged in the ways in which this channel is growing, for you all to get exclusive content and benefits. And it also gives you an opportunity to become part of the Weight of Cinema journey in a really unique way, because you are able to be one of the key investors in what Weight of Cinema is. Now, it doesn't take much, at least a cup of coffee per month. So if you want to just sacrifice a cup of coffee to invest in Weight of Cinema, I would be eternally grateful for your participation and for your patronage. This should be a card right here for you to become a patron. You can see the lovely patron names around my face. Thank you to all of you who are patrons. And also with patron, you get to vote on the next video essay. So I'm done with the Lord of the Rings videos. It has been an immense pleasure getting to write love letters to these amazing films that I'm so passionate about, but I'm going to be doing new video essays on something new. So we have polls that are cast that are able to influence the direction of the channel and what videos will be coming in the future. So if you want to be a part of that, you can become a patron right now, today. And with all of that to say, thank you all so much once again for watching this video. It is a labor of love for me to create these videos, and so to know that you guys appreciate them so much really warms my heart. I have new video essays in the works coming soon. This is going to be a good year. Cheers to you all. Thank you again, and until next time.